Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back. Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and I'm joined today with Officer Tony Macaione. Macaione. I want to thank you again for coming back onto the show.
Thank you.
And we're going to get a little update as to what's happened. Just give me a little background. Before you were on the show for the first time, you had said somebody had referred you to me and to the show Speak Up because we're getting the message out that there are situations with the courts here in New Hampshire where there seems to be a bias or there seems to be unaccountability to the laws, the rules, whatever. And it's an ongoing issue. And it seems as though since you've been on the show last, they've put the screws to you a little bit more.
Yes. I came on the show, actually I was referred to you from a friend after I wrote a letter in reference to the Attorney General's article in the paper, because going through what I've been dealing with for the last 2.5 years to 3 years, it coincides with what the article is all about. I'm here today, Kevin, to let you know that things have gotten worse, and I don't know if it's a retaliation from being on the show or if it's just the way it is, but I feel like you can't go any further backwards with what's going on in my life. I've got the court that has refused to listen to what the facts are, and when they do have the facts, they possess and create orders that they won't enforce. So orders that they have.
Starting right there with orders that they won't enforce. We were in a conversation where your ex-wife
correct
is she owes you at least $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 in I don't know, in back child support.
What we have is we've had court orders that were sent out in 2011 that said that she owed me. The numbers were wrong, just to start out with, but I accepted what they had until we can rebut it. But the numbers state that she owes me close to $31,000.
$31,000. And so you recently go before the judge, and the judge says, this is a judge that you brought before the JCC.
Correct.
And the JCC is the Judicial Conduct Committee?
Correct. I had a problem with the court system in Laconia. Laconia was giving me a hard time about everything. I mean, if I walked in there and told you, this is what I'm answering to, and I have actual factual predicate and evidence to determine I did nothing wrong or this is what's going on, they absolutely do not listen. They won't act on it. And what happened was I was set up to go up there for a hearing. Mm-hmm. I went for the hearing in February 2012. My ex-wife was in violation of 5 different things on court orders, and we had the hearing in February. She was...
Right. I wanted to get to, you're standing before the judge.
That's correct.
That you filed 2 complaints with the JCC.
Correct.
You presented evidence to the JCC.
Correct.
They turned around and said...
They basically sent me, the first complaint I filed, they stated it wasn't within their realm, and it went beyond their scope. They signed it, and I got the similar letter 6 months later where I filed another complaint because now I definitely had a problem because they weren't enforcing the laws. And I said, you're not going to enforce the laws, so obviously this has got to be conduct from a judge or a marital master, because a marital master is reporting to a judge.
Right, and
the judge is signing off on it.
Correct.
And it is incorrect, and they're not willing to move on it. So they then sent me a similar letter, exact same verbiage, except for 2 of the people on the committee withdrew.
All right, so before this very judge that you said, listen, there's a violation. You had basically clear and convincing evidence. They said it's beyond our scope. Now you're standing before the judge because your ex-wife owes approximately $30,000, and that's not being enforced. Correct. Her excuse to you
for the reason that she's not paying the money that she owes you is because of a little piece of paper.
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about the piece of paper. Has to do with medical care for your son.
Correct. My ex-wife is a dental hygienist. She works for a dental agency that has a reputation of being unsavory and unethical. And I got that information from her personally when she first started working there. There were some concerns, and the concerns were absolutely legitimate. I then find out through the course of my own investigations and going through things, I hear this stuff from other people. There's a large turnover of doctors that are leaving the practice. Nobody seems to be happy when they're leaving there. They all have similar things. I then told the judge that I sent a letter to them saying, don't treat my children. I'm not allowed on the premises, where she had committed adultery. I'm not allowed on the premises. I'm paying the bills. She's not helping me with anything, but I'm not allowed there. My children are juveniles. And I'm fear for their safety because this gentleman has got some issues.
And you brought in documentation, and I've read it, looked at it,
That's
which
right.
shows that he's volatile.
That's right.
Even Miss New Hampshire or somebody.
His own employees, eventually, I had filed these complaints earlier. Now they started to come full circle because what we had here was now his own employees, the people that he has entrusted with his staff, are reporting it to my agency, the police department, which is public knowledge. I filed for the reports and I got them, that he's unstable, he's a danger to himself and others, which caused the building to be evacuated.
Right, and we have that public document
I do.
saying he will no longer practice, something to that effect.
I filed another complaint based on a January incident in 2012 and 2011, and a July incident in 2011. I had filed my first complaints in 2009 and 10, so here we are, less than a year later. You have two separate complaints from two separate women. One is still employed there and one who's no longer employed there, and the same thing's going on. I filed a complaint based on the circumstances and the seriousness of this event. We're talking serious. We're talking...
And you don't want your son being treated there. So you correct?
Correct.
So you're saying, Your Honor, my son's not safe there. I don't want my son safe there.
Correct.
Being treated there. Instead of working with you,
It's not just the sons. It's for everybody. I filed this complaint with the Medical Review Board, a formal complaint, because it's not just my family. I'm a police officer, and it's my job to protect the population, whether state, resident, city. This is a danger, and it's sitting right there, and everybody sees it. And now I filed that complaint with the Medical Review Board, and within a month, this doctor is now into an agreement that he's no longer to write prescriptions, practice. He's done, and he admitted it, and basically he's done.
and that's a public record.
That's correct.
So where I'm going with this, so now your ex-wife owes you $30,000. There's a piece of paper that says your son is to be treated at this particular facility.
All my children, yep.
And your ex-wife is saying, look, he didn't take away that paper saying I don't want my child being
That's great.
Treated there, so therefore I don't have to pay the $30,000.
Well, not exactly. What had happened was, it's kind of like extortion from the court on me. What they do is they tell me, she doesn't do this because you haven't done this. And I said, sir, I am not withdrawing that letter because it's public safety. I'm a police officer.
Right.
I know that I'm right. Why would you put my children and other residents and other state citizens in danger, sending them there, until at least this gets clarified? Now, in February 2012, I went before this man and asked him to recuse and said, I don't feel comfortable going before you because of the fact that I filed 2 complaints with the Judicial Conduct Committee. Right. He then says, we need to hear it today. I want to put this to rest. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to do this, do that. I was there with co-workers and friends.
And he didn't recuse himself.
He did not recuse, and I said, you know what, maybe he's going to listen. So I took it upon under good faith. I want to get this over with because I want to move on with my life. This gentleman now sits up there, the marital master, takes a recess, comes back, and I said, let's get it over with. I present my facts. He takes it under advisement like he always does because he's not going to talk to me in person. He is a coward. He is a coward.
Who is this judge?
He's a marital master, Michael H. Garner. He is not going to even, when he talks up there, he looks down. He disrespects me in the sense that I'm not looking at you. I'm not even going to talk to you. And then when I present my case, it's a slam dunk. You can't, and I ask her, she's on the stand, I'm cross-examining her, I'm pro se because I can't afford an attorney. I ask her, have you paid any of this? No. Why? Because you haven't rescinded that letter. and I'm not going to. My letter was filed in 2009 and 2010. This incident occurred in 2011. I was correct. This guy has an issue. Now, she gets paid 35% commission, so she's getting money. Like, I don't know if any other dental practice gets this kind of money, but they really pay well. I mean, you work 28 to 30 hours and you're getting $80,000 a year. So she needs that money because she's paid on commission. So whatever she can do. But I'm not allowed on the premises, and I told him I'm not withdrawing it. So he puts in a court order that the reason why, so he covers her. He says, she didn't pay you the child support, she didn't pay the medical and dental, she didn't pay the second mortgage, she didn't do this because you didn't rescind that letter. Even after I had already presented with evidence to the court, it was absolute evidence.
And the court just looked at the evidence and said, it's not important?
Ignore it. And they said, you're still going to send your kids there. And to this day, I still haven't got a dime from her. But when I left there, I felt like we're going to get a decision. So he said he took it under advisement. I called back in July because it's taken a long time from February. And I said, what's the decision? She says, oh, you'll be notified through the mail. You're being transferred to the Dover District Court for everything.
I'm still, you know what, my mind is still kind of fuming over the fact that your child is going to be put in a dangerous situation. And the court is asking or telling you, in the best interest of the child, to send your child back to the dentist where it's public knowledge that the dentist is a loop.
That's right. It's a public record.
Right. And so in the best interest of the child, and I'm being very facetious here, you still need to send your child there, and that's why we're not going to award you the $30,000 or enforce the $30,000 that is owed to you.
Correct.
So this is the judge that you filed at
Complaints
JC, okay, and now he's supposedly going to judge fairly on this under advisement, and then all of a sudden you get hit up with the fact now you're going to the Dover courts.
That's right. He's forced to make a decision. He doesn't make the decision. He assigns me to Dover District Court. I go to Dover District Court, representing myself again, and it's all about child support. So then they find that I owe her $10,500 in child support and automatically start addressing my wages at work, and they take, I believe, 55 to 60%.
I'm looking at it right now, and the attachment is, do you mind me saying?
Yes, sir.
$674, and you get $565.
Correct. I work and I get about $150 less than her.
Right. Well, you know, after taxes are taken.
Oh, I have to pay all the taxes on everything.
And she doesn't have to pay taxes.
She pays nothing.
So, and even though she still owes you the $30,000, and there's no dispute that she owes you the $30,000.
No, it's in the court order. They're just not enforcing it.
I'm speechless. You know,
That's why I came on the show, because I think, in retrospect of who I am and what I do, I'm here to protect and represent our state. As basically, I took an oath under the New Hampshire Constitution to protect people.
How long have you been a police officer?
I started in Rochester in 1989. In Rochester, I started in Laconia earlier in '89, and I worked in Florida as a police officer. But I came back to New Hampshire to serve here, and that's where I'm from. So basically, when you get down to what's going on, over the years, like I said in the last show, you develop a feel for what's going on, but you never expect it to be this bad, because when you see people that you deal with on a daily level, most of the time, the people I've dealt with over the years have either committed a crime, and that's why I'm talking to them.
You know, you're a police officer. You've been in courts over and over and over again. This is the family court.
Correct.
You're not seeing this type of corruption or malfeasance or whatever you want to call it.
Negligence.
Negligence
it's awful.
In regular court, do you?
No, you
Right.
don't. You don't see it in criminal court. In the family court, when you go there, is a total different aspect of what's going on. You could go to even Dover District Court when I went there. The clerks and everybody were very nice. But when you go to Laconia, they have a chip. They are just hateful of me for some reason, because I'm representing myself. I can't afford to get a lawyer, and they knew that.
Would you consider yourself a despised litigant?
Yes.
Now, you said that you had received a letter from the Bar Association saying this person can possibly help you.
Correct. I have the letter with me today. I was referred to, I do have an attorney. His name is Mark Moeller from Dover, New Hampshire. He's dealing with the child support issues on a basis, like one fee. He's been fantastic. But we're still meeting the same resistance from Dover. When it came down to him reviewing my court order, he says, she owes you money. So now, when we go to Dover, now they're sending us back to Laconia, and now we have to wait to see. I'm going back to the same hostile grounds. Now this time I'm going with a lawyer, but we're going over different aspects of the contempt. So I then had...
Are you in contempt?
No, she's in contempt, but because the court orders are sitting right here, but they're not enforcing them, so therefore she's not in contempt. It's like me telling you, we ordered you to do this, but we haven't given you a time frame when we're going to make you pay.
So they're forcing your hand, but they're not forcing their hand.
Correct.
This really unravels your faith in the judicial system.
I have no faith in the family court system. In fact, I'm here today to denounce it because I can tell you right now, it is 100% flawed, broken, and it takes somebody like me, I guess, to come forth. And I want to put my career, my reputation on the line. Somebody has to stand up for the people of this state, whether it be male, female. It has to change. It has to change. When I hear about murder-suicides and I hear this stuff going on, you can bank that you need to go back and you need to look at what's facilitating this. And when you go back to see stuff like this,
right,
you know where it's coming from.
Well, that's the point. You know, you get these 30-second, oh gosh, a bad thing happened. A guy shot himself, shot his wife, or burned himself on the state capitol down in Keene, or this city hall, or they flip out, and everybody says, oh, there was an extremist, he deserved it, and blah 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 blah. Come to find out, somebody's been poking this person in the eye for a long time.
Absolutely. Been doing it for me for 3 years. I mentioned on a show last November about a credit card that was charged up.
Right.
Now, that credit card was charged up. I brought a letter from the county attorney's office. The court had ordered her to pay it. Again, the reason why she didn't pay it when I filed contempt on her, because they used the same piece of paper for all 5 times of contempt to say, you didn't rescind that letter. I'm not going to rescind a letter when I know that there's a potential problem that somebody could be killed, or you could have a real situation here with a man with a gun that's going to light up a place and kill people, including my children and any resident that's in there, including staff workers.
So in the best interest of the child, you need to rescind that paper, according to the judge.
And he ordered it and said, until you do it with equity, you receive equity.
Even though there's a public document saying this person
Correct.
is a hazard to the community.
That's correct.
And it's been verified. It's out there.
Absolutely.
What do you think? I'm taking it personally for you, obviously. How can you not take it personally? What is the reason?
You have to look at it. So I've gone ahead and I've tried to contact, so maybe I can get somebody. I went to the New Hampshire Bar Association for the loyal referral service.
Right.
Because my attorney can't afford, I can't afford it, so I was looking to get somebody to help me out with it and go through the different aspects of this case. There's civil aspects, there's a legal malpractice involved here. It's very detailed into, it's disgraceful. I got this letter the other day. It's dated, less than a week ago. And before I could even fill out the paperwork for the referral service, I was told from the New Hampshire Bar Association, these are lawyers that submit their names to help somebody, and they do it at a reduced rate or based on contingency of what they can do. I got this letter. Before I could fill it out, the guy contacted me and said, I'm not doing it. I've contacted 9 different attorneys, and I had 2 more attorneys call me today and say, no, we won't deal with it. So you really can't.
That is the definition of what is called a despised litigant.
Yeah.
You're a despised litigant, and lawyers won't pick you up because they feel that you're not going to be treated fairly before this judge. And they don't want to buck the system and get a little black mark. So because every person that goes before this judge, if you help this person out, you're not going to. All your other clients are going to be punished, and therefore they don't want to represent you. Now you're a police officer serving our state faithfully. Tell me, do you got a police record?
No.
Okay, I'm being funny.
I know, but I'm just saying it's almost comical because you can go in and if you take my case and go from step 1 with the violations that have been occurring, you cannot advocate before this court. They are not listening. They will actually make excuses for my ex-wife and defend her. She don't need a lawyer. That judge is defending her. In every order you read, you'll see that he defends her. The wording of, we believe, it appears, are all through there. And it says, if I had done something, then she would have done this. But yet, I'm looking at their court order. She didn't do what you said, and she told you on the bench, I'm not doing it because I don't have to. So why do you type a court order that if you're not willing to enforce it, then why are you sending me copies of this and telling me that this is enforceable, but then you choose not to because of something she's not happy with in her attorney? I have worked my butt off to try and save my home. I couldn't. but I worked 1,580 hours of overtime on top of my job for 32 hours. I took a job with the Sheriff's Department, made like $13,000, $14,000 there before they made a legislative decision to cut us back to 32 plain. Still had my retirement at that time. Made like $147,000, and the way they set the odds, I mean, you're going to reward her $36,000 a year. I'm still paying full medical and dental on everybody for like $2,500 a month plus other stuff. And then I got stuck with $7,000 in bills. And then she left with her $80,000 a year job, and they said, well, you try and make it work.
Well,
I couldn't.
So, and to boot, if I recall, you raised the children.
The children I had in the beginning of the divorce, all four.
And until the last one was ready to...
My son graduated last year, I should say. He graduated in June, and in June, at that point in time, I was taken back to court, and I was told I owed her almost $11,000. And I said, what happened to the money for the other kids? And they said, they haven't made a decision on when she's going to pay it because of that letter again. But then they started taking my wages, and then I clearly asked, do I get my money back if you find out she owes me money? They won't answer that, so they're sending me now back to Laconia because it's ping pong. You're not going to get a decision from any of these courts because if the way I look at it is, if I get a judge in Dover to override what this guy did in Laconia, we got a problem here.
You raised the children.
I did.
And you're paying the child support.
You betcha. Except for my one son, who she had custody of, but I've never had less children. I had 4-0, 3-0, 2-1, 1-1, and as soon as July hit, bingo, you're nailed, buddy. We're going to nail you to the crucifying wall, and you're done. And then everything she owed me was like, we don't go backwards, and then it's just amazing.
Do you have that in writing that they said they don't go backwards?
Oh, yeah, it's in my reports. They put in there that they don't go backwards. Basically,
they don't do retro.
Well, they said that they give you a time frame of, well, he didn't say anything within 30 days. And I tell him, what are you talking about? In the beginning of the divorce, I mean, his letters from the school where my son was with me, she was trying to claim he was with her. And it's got here, it says, a letter to certify all correspondence from Prospect Mountain High School regarding your son goes to me in all contacts. Well, she was trying to claim that, and the court couldn't figure out why the registers had done that for me. And then they said in one of the letters that I hadn't asked for child support. And I said, well, that's not correct, because what you have here is I have a letter here that I believe I might have read at the other show.
Right. That
it's outrageous that your client's not paying child support. And that was before the same judge. And I said, that was 2010, January 4th.
And this is why you brought up the bias before the JCC. And the JCC said it's beyond our
scope.
So what are they good for?
They're good for nothing.
All right. Because they're all judges, maybe? Or they're part of the Bar Association?
Right. And it's one of those
things. I'm not trying to knock the Bar Association.
No, they're all co-workers, and they all sit on committees. And basically, you're talking to the same people that you have a problem with. So therefore, there's no impartial decision going to be made because they're all friends.
What do your colleagues think of this?
The people who went to court with me were disgusted. I mean, because they know that the paperwork is here, it's signed, it's accurate, it's a deliberate attack on me. And I know that this marital master is doing it intentionally.
And you outside of court, you weren't neighbors, and you didn't kick his dog, you didn't do anything to tick him off. You didn't give him a ticket in some time past? Or?
What it comes down to, sir, is that if you stand up for your rights and your children and the people of New Hampshire, they're looking at a system that is not listening, and they're going to say, who are you? It's like David and Goliath. Who are you to stand up to me? I'm the person who's in charge here. I'm not here to give you any answers. I'm not here to give you legal advice. I'm not here to do anything but screw you, and that's what they do.
Who are the courts accountable to?
Nobody. They're accountable to nobody. They're appointed people, and they make that known, that they are appointed. You can't do anything. I contacted the Attorney General's office. I've contacted the New Hampshire Supreme Court. It's the same thing over and over again. I actually contacted the Attorney General's office, reference basically an integrity complaint that I have, and I can't talk about it because it deals with that credit card again. And it's still under investigation, but in an investigation with a credit card where you have somebody that's committed a crime, I reported this in May of 2011. She hasn't been brought in yet to even be asked questioning. So how do you solve a case if you don't bring the suspect in and say, I need a pure version statement of what you did or what you didn't do, because she's not going to be called in because somebody, I believe, has told them, you're not going to pursue this. But yet, I do have a letter from the county attorney's office here with me today that I read to you that says, I'm not responsible for the debt because it was sent to 2 different addresses and I wasn't aware of it. And then upon discovery, it was mailed to me saying he doesn't live here, and it crashed my credit. So therefore, the court even said in the court order, I had 2 years to refinance the home. Well, consider the legal aspects of it, and then you find out that I was declined because of a credit card that I never charged on. And they said, it appears that she may have undermined his chances to refinance the home. It doesn't appear. I gave him the paperwork from the bank that says I was declined because of an income to debt ratio.
There's nothing appear.
It doesn't appear. It's right. It's a fact right from the bank. But they're not going to. They're going to make every excuse in the world not to prosecute my ex-wife. And like I tell them, if it had been me, you know that I'd have been on the front page of the Manchester Union Leader, Concord Monitor, Portsmouth Herald, Foster's Daily Democrat, Keene Sentinel, and they would have said, this police officer is now under arrest. He's a highly decorated officer. He went overboard. No, I'm doing what I have to do to protect my family in the interest of the people in New Hampshire.
And now the Speaker, Norelli, has taken away your availability to sit before a committee called the Redress of Grievance Committee and expose this and get it, the credibility brought out and all the information brought out. So the whole system is beginning to, we're seeing this, I sat on that committee, we're seeing this over and over and over and over and over again, and we present the facts, and they say, where is it? I don't see it.
They're not listening. They're blind.
I don't see. So what is the reason? What is the reason behind this? We do want you to be talking to a couple of state reps to actually bring a petition.
I would love to go before legislation. If they had all this information from the beginning, it would make the hair stand up on your arms of what she's gotten away with. In the beginning of the whole thing, like I said, the whole legal malpractice against my former attorney hinges upon what the court did in the course of conduct during my trial.
Right.
It's been a setup from day one. I mean, I'm an investigator, and I know when you've been had. And these guys openly, the three of them, marital master, my attorney, and her attorney, they had to be talking because there's no way they could pull this off without having this information.
See, even keeping her out of the picture, it should be the system should protect, first of all, the interest of the children.
That's right.
And there should be the equal parenting, and there should be equal responsibility, all in the best interest of the children. I haven't heard any of that in this conversation at any point of any of your documentations that the court's looking out for the best interest of the children.
No, they're looking at their money.
As a matter of fact, that when you present the court that my child would be in danger of being before this quack, they say, well, no, that's not the issue. What the issue is we made a command and you need to obey it, regardless if it's in the best interest of the child or not.
That's correct. They're going to
I'm putting words in your mouth. But.
Well, put it this way. When I told him, you're putting my children in danger,
right.
They look at you with a blank stare and says, we're not here to give you legal advice, and you were court-ordered to do something, you failed to do it, and they put her in the order. In defense of her, for contempt, he continues to refuse to rescind a letter, and they know for a fact, this was signed in June, and on the 12th of February, same year that I told them this doctor was done 6 months before because of the fact of where he acted and the people that were in his job and everything else. He's a danger.
And so you brought up the fact that this is a bad order. It's an illegal order because it's putting my child in danger.
Correct.
And again, the system said, we're not accountable, we're appointed. Again, that's why we pushed for CACR 26. You know, we wanted it, we got it on the ballot. We wanted it to be so that the people would have a say. We're not done this fight. Is there anything else that you want our viewers to know about this particular case?
I think it's important to note, Kevin, that I'm a good father. I still help my kids. With whatever money I've got left, I scrape it together. I help my kids no matter what. All my friends know that. I help my daughter who's in college at New Hampshire Technical Institute. I help my kids above and beyond the money they're taking from me. She's getting $2,800 a month cash from me. I mean, that's her money on top of what she's making. I then have to pay for everything and include my legal fees. And I tell everybody, you have to have common ground. If you can't go before a judge and feel you can advocate for what is written right on paper and say, this is what we have, this is considered what it is because it's here, it's signed, it's documented. But when you go to a court and you go to another court and you say, Your Honor, this is a court order from another court, it's signed and sealed by a marital master and a judge, I would like you to enforce it. And they look at you and say, we're not going to do it, because then if they overturn what he's done, they know it's wrong.
Oh, but that,
so they'll tell you, you're going back. So what they do is they delay you long enough now that they'll turn around and say, you didn't make the time constraints. And I'll say, what do you mean? It's been sitting in Dover, and now it comes back, and now you're going to tell me you're not going to hear it because it's too long. We don't go backwards again. So basically, you might as well beat your head against the wall, because you're going to get beat down by the family court system either way. And like I told my friends, you can't win with this court system because they're blocking their eyes, closing their ears.
Would you say that we should actually get rid of the family court system?
I think the family court system is disgusting. And I think that the court system, if they don't remodify the whole place, and the marital masters, they don't even have arrest powers. So when I go in there and ask him for contempt, he doesn't have the powers to even do that. He has to report to a judge, and then the judge makes a determination. By the time it even gets done, it could be 6, 7 months.
I believe it was a legislator that actually created the family court, so they're the ones who could potentially get rid of it and start it all over again. You know, if you look at the history of New Hampshire, the courts have needed some adjustments over the years.
Right.
People forget that because you're not being served. Your children are not being served justice. And this is just an ongoing case over and over and over again. We're hearing these cases here in New Hampshire. What was the marital master's name again?
Michael H. Garner.
And
it's Laconia. He was at Merrimack before he was transferred to Laconia. The other judge that I was told was no longer with Laconia. She came from Merrimack also with him, is now, I found out by doing my own investigation, is now a judge in Hooksett, New Hampshire. So we don't terminate these people for bad decisions or violating your constitutional rights. We relocate them. We don't terminate, we relocate.
We heard that before.
So, I mean, you can just keep sending them around, and they bounce from place to place. When the word of welcome out, they send them to another jurisdiction. And I can tell you right now, there's no way that I can believe these judges are reading these orders, because they're so wrong that they're just signing them based on the fact that the marital master does it. I mean, I think they're cutting and pasting most of the stuff, because you look at it and it's like redundant, and you look at it and you go, isn't that exactly the same thing on an order 6 months later, and they cut and pasted it? You can't make this stuff up. I mean, the grammatical errors in there are there. I mean, everything is there. I mean, they put no thought into this at all. Basically, all they do is, this is what we're going to do to you. We're not deviating. I don't care what you say, whether you can prove it or not with New Hampshire laws, or whether you can prove it with documentation or factual evidence. We're not listening, because we are the court, and you are a father, you're a citizen, but as a father and a citizen, you are going to be violated, and you're going to violate you, and we're going to do it, and they're going to do it. And they willfully, willingly, and negligently violate your rights.
And just bluntly saying, and coming from a cop, I'm sorry, that's scary.
It is scary, because you know for a fact that I have presence of mind to know when somebody's lying to me.
Yeah.
And when you look at a judge and he doesn't look at you and he's looking down, the body language alone tells me he's not listening and he doesn't care. And then if he's not man enough to say, this is what it is, and why is this counsel that your client is not abiding by my court order? This is signed and sealed. This gentleman has now pointed this out. It's been going on for 22 months. Why? Well, Your Honor, he didn't rescind that letter. That's right. So therefore, there's your defense. We're going to ruin you financially. To the point where they even take my income tax return and suspended my passport, because I'm in the rear as child support, but she owes me $31,000, and I had the same amount of kids up until less than 6 months ago.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show again.
I appreciate you
having me. We're going to keep
here.
you updated, and we're definitely going to get you in touch with a couple of state reps to see if they can move this forward with a petition. And we'll see if Speaker Norelli lets this get moved forward as well. But we're not going to let this go.
I tell you what, I think it's our duty as citizens, and me as a police officer and a father to anybody in the state, we shouldn't let it go, because it's going to take, you have to take a stand.
What do we have to, protest at the Capitol? What do we have to do? What do you have to
I don't know that they'll even listen. That's why I said I'm at wit's end, because I can't even get an attorney to represent me on anything, because it's a closed system.
Right.
It's a closed system. Even when you call them and they say, well, yeah, this is good, next thing you know, I'm all done.
Got the call, yeah.
Nice, thank you very much, good luck. And that's about what it is. And I tell everybody, you are facing, I'm Davey facing Goliath, and the only difference is I don't have the slingshot or the stone right now, so you're screwed.
Wow. I want to thank you for watching Gate City Chronicles, not Gate City Chronicles, Speak Up, and Gate City Chronicles is another show that we do. But Officer Macaione, I really appreciate you coming on.
I thank you for having me.
And if you want to get in touch with Officer Macaione, you can either contact me at Speak Up and P.O. Box 207, Concord, boy, am I getting all confused. P.O. Box 207, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03063. Or how can they contact you?
I have Tony Macaione at hotmail.com.
At hotmail.com. Help them out if you have some anything that you can do to help them out. In the meantime, we're definitely going to see if we can move this forward.
I'll tell you, New Hampshire needs this. I mean, people need this. It's not just me. I'm not doing it just for me. Mm-hmm. I've seen enough in the 24 years I've been in this state. You hear it. It's got to change because people's lives are at stake here, and the people that are making these decisions are incompetent, and they are arrogant, and they do not listen.
Thank you for watching Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, and with Officer Macaione. And as you can see from this show, you know, this is an ongoing issue with regards to the family courts not listening to the best interests of the children, to laws, rules. Over and over and over again, we hear this, and we've got to fix the system. If you want to help, please write me at the Center for Redress of Grievance at P.O. Box 207, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03061, or contact Officer Macaione directly at his Hotmail. Again, thanks for watching Speak Up, and we appreciate you watching the show. Please share it with your friends.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.